Hi everyone, welcome to Whiskers, the podcast that brings you inside the Northwestern women's soccer team. I'm Ava Gooden, a player here at Northwestern, joined by my co-host, assistant coach Rich Manning. We're here to take you behind the scoreboard and into the stories of the people who make this program what it is. Today's episode is part of our support staff speed dating series, where we spotlight the incredible staff working behind the scenes to keep the team performing at its best. And today, we're joined by someone every player gets to know very well, our clinical dietitian, Courtney Chramowicz. We will learn about Courtney's path to her career, and we find out what role she plays in helping our soccer players develop their full potential. And you will also hear her surefire tips to a winning diet for maximum performance. But before we jump in, we thank you for listening to Whiskers. Whatever platform you are finding us on, a reminder to please follow, subscribe, and give us a positive review because it will help us grow the Whiskers Nation. We are so incredibly grateful for your support. And now, without further ado, let's get into it.
Excited to be here.
Yeah, well, let's just start by learning more about you. What first got you interested in sports nutrition and generally what got you started as a dietitian?
Yeah, I was really fortunate enough to have an incredible professor and mentor when I was in my undergrad at UW-Milwaukee, and she introduced me to the world of sports nutrition. So my journey really started there in my undergrad as a nutrition science major, and in my last semester there, I completed an internship with the athletics department at UWM. So it's kind of my first little taste of working with athletes. And then when I moved to Chicago to do my master's at UIC in the city, I then did a 6-month internship here at Northwestern actually, and worked with football and a little bit with field hockey. So working in sports nutrition there. And I was like, this is for sure what I want to do for my job. So then when I left here, I moved to Las Vegas and worked at the UFC Performance Institute out there with all the combat fighters.
Yeah,
So yeah,
it was stories.
Yes, yeah, definitely. So an interesting population, all super, super nice individuals there, so kind and so dedicated to their craft. So it was really interesting to see there. Then came back to Chicago from the suburbs originally, so wanted to be by my family and started my own business, and then was working full-time in clinical at Rush Hospital downtown in the inpatient clinical setting as a dietitian, so seeing a lot of different populations, I guess, in the nutrition world, some oncology, and did some outpatient bariatrics. So kind of all over the place there. And then the position came open here. And so I jumped on it wanting to get back into sports full time. And here I am. So yeah.
Well, for those who might not know, what exactly does a dietitian do for a team?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in the sports realm, I think Northwestern's a little unique in our performance nutrition model. A lot of universities or collegiate performance nutrition specialists, dietitians, I guess I could say, are responsible for not only the clinical work that I do here, but also the whole food service side of things. So as you know, we have the fuel bar here in Walter. We actually have 6 different kind of satellite fuel bars. So, we have the one in the weight room, the main one, and then there's a couple on the football side of things. And then over at Treenan's, there's also a fueling station there. So normally we would be responsible for all of that, but we're super, super grateful to have our nutrition operations team. So we have 2 individuals on the nutrition operations side that kind of help to manage the food service side of things and making sure those fuel bars are running smoothly. So just want to give a shout out to them because that really allows me then to be super involved with my teams, not only as a group, but then also one-on-one doing a lot of the clinical work. So looking at, your lab values, assessing for any vitamin or mineral deficiencies. If those things are present, then how can we, help to fill some of those gaps through food and fueling? Also looking at, sometimes body composition and where is that at? Sometimes that can be just a helpful tool that we might use to kind of get a bigger picture of where an athlete is at with their performance. Also helping with nutrient timing. So timing around sports, whether it's practice or games, looking at what that fueling timeline can look like and how to best, dial in your nutrition to really make sure that it's having a positive impact on your performance. And then other things we can look at too, supplement safety. So, there are certain supplements that are allowed and some that are not allowed. And how do we navigate those and making sure that we're getting the right ones and that we're using supplements that are going to have a positive impact on your performance and not just taking the first one we see offline, on Instagram or TikTok that's being marketed to us by our favorite influencer, which happens sometimes. So making sure that the research is really behind some of those supplements and that we're making solid recommendations. And I think our department does a really good job of consistently updating our own protocols when it comes to assessing some of these vitamin and mineral deficiencies as well, and how we want to approach that as a performance nutrition staff. And then also looking team wise, like what would be best for that team and that specific sport, right? Because endurance athletes might have a slightly different needs than a football player. There's definitely some overlap there, but looking at sport specific things too. So a lot of different things that go into being a sports dietitian.
We have sports specific questions coming.
For sure.
Yes.
We're going to get more specifically into your area of expertise here.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say are your top tips for a winning diet, just for the average soccer player?
Yeah, I think for the average soccer player, one thing that I see is a lot of times not getting enough carbohydrates in. So when we're looking at carbohydrates, that includes anything like rice, pasta, potatoes, bread, fruits are carbohydrates. Fruit juice also counts towards carbohydrate intake. So making sure that we're getting adequate carbs in, because we know that carbohydrates are the body's, main source of fuel. That's what you're using for energy you're pulling from your muscles when it's stored in there and from your liver. And so I think that would be one of the main components to have on your plate. And then also getting, a quality source of protein. So whether that's animal proteins, chicken, beef, fish, any of those types of things. And then trying to get some color on your plate too in the form of vegetables. I think anytime we can incorporate a lot of variety when it comes to the veggies or color that we have on our plate, that is always going to be best at giving us more vitamins and minerals and antioxidants as well to help with inflammation. And we also know that from a gut health perspective, the more variety we have in our diet, the more variety we have in our gut bacteria, which then can have a trickle-down effect to our immune system and all these other things that are regulated by our gut health. So I would say having variety in your diet and then also making sure you're getting enough carbohydrates as a soccer player for sure are important.
Yeah. How should athletes go about fueling before performance? Maybe we could even talk about both like the night before and then the day of, since at the college level, we do tend to play in the afternoon.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, and I just was actually at a sports nutrition conference this past week, and this was one of the topics that came up specifically with female soccer athletes. So it's really perfect timing that you're asking this question. There's been some research that has shown that that's actually like the prime window, like the day before the game, the day of, and the day after, where we can make some really solid nutrition impacts. And so I think the day before, here we like to use our performance plate model, where half, for people that are listening that might not be familiar, ideally making half of your plate carbohydrates. So again, any of those like potatoes, rice, starches, those types of things. On half of your plate, a quarter of your plate protein, and a quarter of your plate vegetables, especially the night before. But even if you can start with I would even say all of the meals the day before, just to make sure that you're really topping off those glycogen stores, which is, the stored version of carbohydrate in your muscle. Day before, that would be my recommendation for sure, especially knowing that at the collegiate level or even high school, like your schedules are crazy, right? And so sometimes, fueling might fall to the side, which it happens just naturally. Things get really busy and it can be hard to check all of the boxes all the time. So really kind of dialing in, especially that day before, to make sure like, okay, I know maybe the day before, or like 2 days before the game, maybe the week before, my fueling might not have been where I ideally would have wanted it to be, but you can use that day before the game to really top off those energy stores and get in adequate carbohydrates throughout the day to help prepare for that game the next day.
Mm-hmm. What can an athlete do during a performance, whether it's like a water break or at halftime, assuming they prioritize their pregame meals and really focus on that aspect, but maybe like you said, like what can they do in the performance to kind of top off and also sustain the fueling they have already done?
Yeah, another great question. I would say when it comes to, we call that like period intra-fueling, right? When you're in a game, maybe you're at a water break or even at practice too, especially if you have been training for over an hour or at that hour mark. I know usually in a game it's around like 45 minutes, but that is a crucial time to continue topping off those fuel stores. So I always like to use the analogy of like your body being a race car, right? And you're not going to show up to a street race with an empty gas tank because you're not going to get very far. And so if you can top off your fuel stores, right, in the form of carbohydrates and muscle glycogen, at a pit stop, right, you're going to be able to go further and have a better performance. And so during that time, using quick and easily digested carbohydrates is always going to be best. So that looks like those fruit snacks that we have on the sidelines. I've found honey packets are super easy because it's a small volume of liquid that you can just get in and digest quickly. Gatorade is another great one. Anytime something's in liquid form, we know it'll be digested a little bit quicker than, having a solid snack. But yeah, anything that's quick digesting carbs. So like those granola bars, fruit snacks, pieces of fruit, honey, the honey stinger waffles, pretzels, any of those things are all good options.
So we're not recommending Reese's peanut butter cups, Swedish fish.
Swedish fish, I'm not opposed to.
Okay. Just looking for something sweet we can eat because
yes,
got a sweet tooth.
By we, I think Rich is talking.
This is coaching.
Rich has been training. He's been out there sprinting, kicking the ball around. Like he's gotta lock in on the nutrition.
Yes,
so.
Actually, Swedish fish or I know Skittles are another popular one.
Wow. Okay, I'm in.
Nerds gummy clusters. Those are all very quickly digested because it's just straight sugar, right? And I know like there's a big stigma around the amount of sugar that's in some of these foods, but because it will be digested quickly, like it's almost an instant source of fuel. So
where were you when I played? Where was this information?
I didn't have all this knowledge quite yet.
You were eating salt tablets and hot water and oh god.
Doing a public service right now.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, well, you can probably guess what I'm about to ask next in terms of what should athletes do post-performance to get recovery going, especially when there is often a very quick turnaround to the next game or next training.
Yeah. When we're looking at post-performance, right, I think I've kind of hammered home on carbohydrates, but if we're filling up that gas tank, we're using it, and then we need to fill it up again. So making sure we are getting carbohydrates, I think that's the thing I see lacking the most in post-fuel for most athletes that I've worked with. Obviously, we do want to get a source of protein in, of course, because we know protein is going to help with muscle building and muscle repair, especially if you're trying to, grow some muscle and have some muscle growth there. Or if you're in season, our goal should be, really preserving that muscle mass. And so getting a quality source of protein after training, I usually recommend around 20 grams of protein and around 50 grams of carbs right after. So when I say right after, I'm thinking like 30 to 60 grams of carbs post game. I got distracted. Coach was walking by. Sorry. So post game, focusing on, getting 20 grams of carbs, and 50. Oh my gosh. Let me start over. Getting 20 grams of protein and 50 grams of carbs right after a game would be ideal. And then I would say within like 30 to 60 minutes is the timing that you want to aim for. So let's say the game ends at 3 p.m. If you can get in that 20 grams of protein, 50-ish grams of carbs, that way, sometime before 4 p.m. And then most likely you'll go and have dinner too, especially talking about those like afternoon games. That would be an ideal situation. So some things that kind of check that box, we have like the chocolate Fairlife, right? We know that has adequate protein and carbohydrates to kind of check that box post workout.
Yeah. Well, once an athlete does get to college, especially coming from a club level where it is very different, are there any common like misconceptions, or like in that initial meeting you have with them, is there anything you specifically make sure you go over that they often lack because they didn't have it before?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I see in that transition from high school to college would be, a lot of times when you're coming in, your training is going to change and likely be more intense than what you were doing at the high school level. And so with that change from high school to college, making sure that you also are matching your nutrition with those training changes. A lot of times we see, like training will increase, but then fueling stays the same. And then you have this gap between where your fueling is and where your training is. And so in my education, really making sure that individuals know, like, okay, my training is increasing, but then my fueling also has to increase to match that, so that we're not kind of falling into an energy deficient state chronically over time. And that can take some time to adjust to. There's a lot of changes coming into college, new environment in general, and then navigating a new food landscape too, with dining halls and maybe having snacks in the dorm or not having snacks, and also what access you might have within your university. So kind of taking a look at all of those things too. So just making sure that overall, the biggest goal is to make sure that energy intake is matching energy like demands from training.
And lastly, because it sounds like you have a variety of experiences working with different sports, different athletes, what specifically about soccer players is unique when it comes to their fueling?
I think when it comes to soccer, the amount of running that you all do, you're doing a lot of running. And I think when it comes to a fueling perspective, making sure that individuals are getting adequate carbohydrates to sustain that, I think that is like the number one thing that I think I see is just like not getting enough carbs in, or maybe underestimating how much is needed to perform in the sport. Yeah.
More carbs,
More carbs.
lots of running.
Lots of running.
Does that match with your experience, Ava?
Yeah, it's pretty accurate, I would say.
Yes.
Especially the lots of running part. So
Yeah.
And you are one of the big runners on the team. Truth be told.
Yes.
Truth be told.
It can be challenging, but we can find some unique ways to get in that
Sure.
fuel during training for sure.
Yeah, like Skittles. Right?
Well, Ava, we're recording around lunchtime. Ava had a wonderful lunch filled with color, green beans,
Thank you.
fruit.
Chicken, pasta
Chicken-
salad, all the great.
I think we
things
should have
talk
started
about.
with that.
I know. Mukbang next time, perhaps. We can all
Yes.
eat and talk about nutrition. Maybe I'll share my nonas. I don't know.
Nice.
Yes.
All right, Courtney, you are now under the microscope for our rapid fire round.
Okay.
So the rule is whatever first comes to your mind.
Okay. I'm ready.
No filters. Well, some filter, but what is your favorite coffee or tea drink?
Cold brew with oat milk.
Any particular coffee spot?
Hewn in Evanston is pretty good.
How do you spell that?
HEWN,
And it's where?
over by Ryan Field. I forget the
Oh my
street.
gosh. Okay, that might be a new one.
Yes. Check it out.
Your favorite restaurant or food place?
My most recent favorite is called Noodle Bird. It's in Chicago. They have a variety of like Asian cuisine and it is incredible. I got their pork and ginger dumplings and then like beef over rice situation and it was phenomenal. Highly recommend.
Okay, Noodle Bird. She can sponsor. She's happened to be an endorser and give you a
Yes.
shout out.
They did also just open a bakery next door that's only open on the weekends and their bakery
Dangerous.
items are incredible. So
Dangerous.
highly recommend.
Good shout out. What do you love about Northwestern?
The people. I really wanted to come back to Northwestern after completing my internship a couple years ago because of the people here. I think that really makes a huge difference in a work environment for me, and the collaborations that I get to have here and the relationships that I get to build, I am super grateful for. So definitely the people.
Shout out to the Cats people.
Yes.
Why do you love the Northwestern women's soccer team?
They're so funny and silly
Oh my
and
gosh.
also dedicated. I
don't know
can
about
tell there's some silly geese on the team.
That's fair.
And I also can tell how much the girls care about their sport and performance. And so I am just really grateful to work with them all. Yeah.
Mutual.
Love that.
Oh my God. And now the recording studio is a love fest right now. What is something non-sports related that you're secretly very good at?
I am secretly really good at designing things, more so interior design. I worked at the Container Store for a number of years when I was in grad school and out of grad school, and I actually designed closets there. So people would come in with their closets and say, I need a new closet. Can you help me? And they would bring their measurements of their closet, and I would design a new closet for them.
Amazing.
That sparked my interest
Amazing.
in interior design.
Anybody need a closet design? Let's go.
Yes.
What's your go-to quick snack when you're busy?
Ooh, I really like the jerky sticks that we have. So I usually do like a cheese and jerky snack pairing.
Lovely.
Some
Lovely.
protein.
What's one food you think deserves better PR?
Honestly, Gatorade, regular Gatorade. I think there's a lot of stigma with athletes around the sugar in Gatorade or the color of Gatorade. And in reality, it's going to help your performance, and it's such a valuable performance tool that we have in performance nutrition because it's going to help you keep you hydrated and provide a source of quick energy. And I think that is one food that I think needs better PR amongst athletes.
Shout out Gatorade. We all know and love Willie the Wildcat. What would be your personal mascot?
I think my personal mascot would be a sunflower because sunflowers are my favorite flower and they're bright and fun. And I feel like I'm a bright and fun person. So
Shout out Sue, my wife, Sue. Another sunflower fan right there. That's
yes, Sue, I'm your girl.
Yeah. Well, you worked with UFC fighters. Do you have a favorite UFC fighter?
I don't have a favorite UFC fighter.
Okay.
No.
One word to describe Northwestern women's soccer.
Fierce.
Wow, that's a new one. What do you think of that, Ava?
I personally really like that one.
We might have to adopt that.
Fierce.
F for fierce.
Yeah.
I love it.
F for fierce and for fun.
All the F's today, except I think I've said the bad one on here before. So all the ones except that one.
We'll work on that.
Anyway, I won't say my favorite one today. We'll end with the closing question. Okay. It's been awesome, Courtney. What would you say is one nutrition tip every athlete listening should and could start right now?
I think incorporating a pre-workout snack, if you're not already, that's something that I see a lot of times, especially related to GI concerns. You know, I think a lot of people don't have a snack before practice because they're concerned it might hurt their stomach or maybe they've had a bad experience in the past. But I think if they can start with having something that's easy to digest, again, shout out to Gatorade, some type of liquid carbohydrate, whether it's Gatorade or even an applesauce is super light, easy to digest. Trying to get in a pre-workout snack, I think would really, that's the one thing that once people start to incorporate it more is the one piece of feedback that I get of, wow, I really noticed this made a difference. Like I feel better. I feel like I have more energy. And so that's one super easy thing. It doesn't have to be a lot, especially if you're not used to having a pre-workout snack. Maybe start small, but some type of easily digestible carbohydrate, applesauce, banana, Gatorade, fruit juice, all good things. Yes.
Excellent.
Boom.
Boom.
That's it.
Courtney, it's great to have you here with our team. It's great to have you on Whiskers.
Yes.
And we hope that was great information, a lot of fun. Those of you that go to Hune Coffee Shop, you may see her over there.
Yes.
If not, walking around campus, checking out the dining halls.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much again, Courtney. This was great, and I think there's a ton of gems and great information in there as well. So excited for people to hear.
Sincerely, the Fierce Women's Soccer Team.
Yes, fierce and fun.
Fierce and fun. Thanks,
All right,
guys.
thank you. We say ciao at the end. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Ciao.